I know you're rather here for stationeers or maybe some other gaming videos, and this is an AI video, a freestyle talk video, so why the fuck should you stick around? I did this for my German channel 2 days ago, and while it was very talky and rambly in part, it is also very valuable, is my take. And I want to tell you the same things here on the English channel. AI will soon be washing over the world like nothing you can imagine. It will change everything radically, and you have to be ready. You have to know how to deal with this, and I'm going to try to describe to you why. So as to not string you along, let's just put out some of the key things first. AI has become so very capable that it can rival a human PhD researcher. For real. This means that one of the problems of AI, which is AI needs to be improved, can now also be done by AI, because we have a PhD level researcher, and if you have one, then we have countless, because you can instance those things, you can run them in parallel, you can run multiple of them. And at my workplace, we are now also introducing AI, and I mean other parts of the companies have already been doing so. I wasn't aware of that really, but in my offices we are also doing that now, and I can say, wow, this is pretty awesome. I mean, today, for example, in my Java programming development environment, I wrote a method name, that's a function name, subroutine. I mean, everybody who has heard of programming knows that there's something like subroutines, you know, like everything in a command in a programming language is basically a statement or a command, but you can create your own magic spells by combining these into functions. So you can, for example, say, open the file and list the content therein on my screen. It's a pretty complex task to perform by only one function. That's not clean programming, but you know, I'm just trying to give you an idea. So I just wrote the function name, and then before I could continue, the AI had already suggested the entire body of the function from the name of the function. And then I pressed tab, and there it was. And then indeed I had to adjust it a bit, because my name was not, the name was for me. I knew what to expect, and so that's the name I gave them, the function. But then I thought, you know what, let's give it a more elaborate function name. I can later rename this back to something that's sufficient for me, and so I did. And in the meantime, when the name was more elaborate, indeed the AI grasped what I wanted to do and did it. That is how far this shit is by now. And that's nothing. This is an everyday tool. Well, will AI really change the world? It's just a hype, right? Image generation and movie generation, and maybe some actor faces now being replaced by someone who is dead already, with a face of someone who's dead already, so that's good. And it's being done better than humans and 3D artists could do it so far. And you can even do such things for free by now. You can just well, I saw a video like almost a month ago where someone demonstrated what they did. They recorded themselves in a kind of a studio environment like they normally do for their YouTube videos, and then the AI grasped all of that, and then the guy gave the AI a script to read. And then the AI did that with the guy's appearance and voice and mannerisms, including like eyebrow movements every once in a while and such. That's pretty awesome, but that's just the interesting gimmicky tools out there, or something that maybe will make YouTube content creation much faster, right? And more convenient. I'm not too fond of that personally, but I mean, whatever. I already use AI for my videos, but only when it comes to image generation. I'm doing my own talking, and I'm doing my own video editing, and so forth. So while using other people's music. So, and there are already lots of YouTube channels which are using AI, because you can actually make money with YouTube. I mean, if you have 100,000 subscribers or more, you can use that to make a whole salary, what a normal worker does. You know, you can live off that. And side note, I intend to not monetize my German or English channel ever, but let's see how true that holds once they possibly maybe have grown at some point. So what would you right now in this moment be interested in before I get into the weeds of it? And because you don't want to stick around unnecessarily long before you have decided, do I really want to watch this shit? Well, let's say this programmer assistant thing that I have at work is pretty crappy still. If you consider that, well, I still have to do the job, but they are getting better at a speed that is really exponential, and this exponential chart, if you would think about it, if you would think about the curve, like a chart, 2D, 2-axis, and there's a curve that points upwards, it is no longer horizontal, it's already turning vertical-ish. So this is happening, this is super fast, and it saves money, and it allows mankind to do things that were not possible before, because for example, you can now use those things, or they are at least being built, so it takes maybe a year or two, then we have this as an elaborate, well-working default. We will have doctor's diagnosis, and I don't mean the doctor of your village or whatever, but world-class, the highest level. And I mean, how many patients can those guys deal with, apart from the fact that someone has to pay them, because they're probably expensive. But with AI, that can become ubiquitous. Everybody could have this. Virtually. And that's coming. And that's something that mankind has never had before. What has also not happened before is that actors might actually be out of business. I mean, not all of them. And I'm also not lauding this. I love actors. I'm really on their side in this, as long as they shut their mouths when it comes to politics. But it's very likely that we will see films where actors will be fully acted by AI. And that is certain. That will certainly come. You bet so. You might think, well, it will always look a bit uncanny and they cannot act as deeply and so forth, but that's wrong. You have to understand that AI can learn anything, because all information, all relationships, as far as we know, can be put into a function. And when I say function, I don't mean the thing that I was just talking about when I write a Java function. I'm talking about something indeed like a 2D graph. Let me use the same example I used in my German channel video, where you have a feature list, or the complexity of the features of a television, which then gives you a reasonable expectation as to how expensive that thing will be. So a simple relationship, A to B. So then you would sample a few of these, you would plot them down from reality into your chart, and then you would tell the AI, hey, look at this thing and abstract what that means, and they can do that. That's an old thing, neural networks, a neuron can do that, abstract that, and then you have that as a function. And then you can just say, okay, now here's your input. I will give you a feature list complexity of a television that you don't know yet, and you will tell me how expensive it will probably be, and then it can tell you that. I mean, the example isn't golden, okay? It's a cheap example. We could also go for character recognition and such, but let's not go into those details. Let's just take large leaps as to not waste your time too much. Also, you can still just learn German and watch the German video. Now, the AI models we are currently dealing with, they're already working with billions of these functions, not just one. I just described one function, but they have billions of these functional relationships between A and B. And they're not just straight lines, they're also curves, complex graphs. And all of these work together. And there are emergence effects. Well, I could go into the details of that too, but I just want to, fast forward this. You have to indeed expect that many jobs can soon be done purely by AI, which is that the human will lose their job. This is something that's coming. And that's even coming to me too. I mean, I'm a programmer, I have been for 40 years, and now AI will very soon be able to do my job. That is something that is real. So the question is, how can you deal with that? The answer is as follows. I will indeed summarize this. I will hopefully go into more detail later in this video, but just so that you get the gist of it, you should try to utilize AI for yourself. For example, if you're a programmer, to stay with that example, you should use it to help you program, to You just describe what you want, or just like I said, you write the function name and then hope that the AI will grasp it correctly. And yes, I have had situations where I wrote something in my program and then I was in a different part of it and I was dealing with a similar situation. And then all of a sudden there was this gray text that I could make permanent by pressing tab. And this text was the respective solution for that respective location, but fitted to the location, not just a copy paste of that other thing. The AI had really grasped what I was doing there, and it was even imitating my style, the way I would phrase it. Even the error message texts were automatically generated and adapted to the situation, but in the style that I had written the other ones. That is what I now have as a default tool on my desktop while coding, and I have been having this for a week now. It's completely new to me, and other people might say, "Oh yeah, whatever." But I'm making this video for those who are not aware what's happening. Okay, before I started recording this video, I had the following idea. I would try to give you a metaphor. Let's say before the Second World War, or before maybe some large catastrophic volcano eruption, or maybe before the arrival of the first smartphones, before something really big happened, everybody was going about their day and everything was normal, whatever normal meant at that time. You see where this is heading, right? But maybe you could, if you were aware, you were looking around and you were kind of feeling that possibly there was some change of wind, but you couldn't nail it down and you didn't really care about it. And I'm trying to tell you, care about it. This shit is happening. We will see companies on all levels, small ones, big ones, employ artificial intelligence. The goal is not to get rid of people. I mean, people are great capital. The goal is not to get rid of people, but the goal for a company is to make money or to be competitive, And as long as the people have a good reason to be there, they will not be gone. And so if there will be a job that if you have a job that the AI will soon be able to do to a reasonably big degree, then at least some of the people in your company who do your job, your kind of job, will be out of it, because it can be done more efficiently by fewer people being supported by AI. But on the other hand, why should not the company just expand? Why should they not just say, okay, we keep the same people, but they can now do more work. They are more efficient, and that's what you should do. I'm not saying you should. There's now a hunt going on. You don't have to run crazy fast. The metaphor I used in my German video was based on this funny joke. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You only have to be faster than someone else who is also being chased by the bear. So they get eaten and you will survive. Now this sounds like I'm telling you, be competitive and let the others take the dive, and maybe that's even what it is, but I mean, have we really ever, I have never really had the feeling to be competing against my fellow man. I know that's technically what's going on, but I think we're usually living in some kind of social-ish situation where might be there in the very, 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 very background, but then also very, very weakly. In everyday life, you're just working together, and that's the way it should be. So when I'm using this bear metaphor, I don't mean to be stronger than the other guy so that you don't lose, because if someone loses, it will be them, not you, haha. What I'm saying instead is, AI will change the world, and if you don't at least try to run a little bit, then the bear will probably eat you. At least you will be shoved around in a way that is less, you will have less agency of what's going to happen, because this will wash over the world like a deluge. This is really, really happening. Please take this seriously. You have no idea, or maybe you have, how fucking huge this is. They are working on this on all fronts. New sensations are being revealed about AI capabilities on a daily basis by now. Well, let's say weekly basis to be reasonable, but to be rational. But because maybe the things that I saw, I haven't really looked at the date of the video. No, it was just recent. but it's really happening at a super fast pace, and it's accelerating too. These things are really getting intelligent. I'm not saying they have awareness, qualia, is that, how do you pronounce that in English? Qualia, actual perception, feelings. No, they don't have that, and I'm very convinced they will never have that. But that will not preclude them from being able to do intellectual tasks and even creative tasks like humans can do them, and on the same level, and get this, even on a level that is higher. I mean, this PhD level research thing, you could say, okay, we have PhD level people, so what's the big deal? Well, now we have the same thing there. Yeah, but where will these things be in a year or in 2 years? And also, this research takes them about like 5 minutes, where a PhD guy has to sit there for hours, for days, for weeks to do the same kind of work. That is already superhuman, man. It has arrived. And see, we have, for example, character recognition as an AI feature, right? Or video generation. Or maybe something like ChatGPT, which can give you, which I have been using for a long time in the form of Microsoft Copilot. That's what they're using, right? I don't know. As basically a better search engine. I mean, you have to think about this. Let's think about the scales. Like 30-ish years ago, when you wanted to know something, you would have to ask someone who knows. Your father, some teacher, your brother. You would have to go to the library, you have to find the data, you have to read it, and it takes some time, and you would be lucky to find the book, and so forth. Then the World Wide Web came, and so came the search engines, and at increasing pace, particularly when Google came along, which made everything more, the search hits became much better, and you could just mistype, not a problem. Since then, well, we have basically having most of the knowledge of the world at our fingertips whenever we needed it. And the good thing is, when you want to know something and you look it up, you, in my opinion, you have a higher likelihood to retain that, to remember that, because in that moment you want to know, as opposed to in school when you're getting a download and when you actually want to go back home, play computer games or play with people or whatever, instead of sitting there and swallowing all that for the same amount of days every day and la la la. So the will to know certainly is a strong should help with learning. So it is, I think, not as bad as some people might put it. You don't learn anything else anymore. Instead, you just ask the machine. I don't think really that's what's going to happen. Anyway, so and for a few years now, we have been having something like ChatGPT, or like Microsoft Copilot. You can just open your Edge browser, which comes with Windows, and there's an icon at the right top, and you click that, and then you get that chat window where you can say, well, there was a movie with a bearded guy who was in a bank, but he was not robbing it, he was witnessing it, and you just describe it. And actually I had that very same thing today. I was looking watching the first season, the only season that's out by now, of the very cool Amazon Prime show On Call, of the two cops, basically following cop calls, but it's very well done. Great, really great stuff. And so I was telling a friend about that, and then I also want to recommend to them a film they possibly haven't yet seen, which is End of Watch. And I couldn't think of the name. End of Watch, a very good film, similar-ish to On Call, and I couldn't think of it, so I described a bit of it, and then Gemini, which is something like Microsoft Copilot, except it's from Google, and you can just use that without logging into any place, because I think you have to have a Microsoft account to use Copilot, but I have one, so I just use my Windows account and don't give a fuck. But Gemini you can just use without an account. It's in Chrome, and to my experience is not as good as Microsoft Copilot in most cases, but these things are changing in such a rapid pace. So you don't take my word for it. Just try it out. If you're not using that stuff, do it, please. Please do it. Get acquainted. Become acquainted with this emerging world. It's important. It will change. Everything will change, and you will be in the middle of it. And the question is, will you be holding a paddle, or will you just be adrift? That's really the question, and you shouldn't be adrift. Be an agent, have agency. Be active. Do something about it. You don't have to fear. This video is not meant to make you uncomfortable. I'm just trying to show you something that you would see if you would just open your eyelids a little bit more, instead of just seeing, yeah, there's another AI sensation, who gives a fuck, get me back to my shows and whatever. I have worked the whole day. I want to get home now. I don't want to think about politics and all that stuff. But you should. You should think about that stuff. Okay, so Gemini, and so I asked it, and then it was able to tell me right away, oh, that's end of watch, and was telling me about some facts about that. So let's go back to that ladder that I was climbing there. We were looking up stuff up in the library, and then came Google and such, and now we can ask these devices, these co-pilots, these chat engines for information. But this information will not just be a link where we then have to go and evaluate whether that's good information, though we still have to be wary. These guys are still sometimes telling us bullshit. That's indeed happening, but this will also get radically better. I mean, in a week this might be gone from the world entirely already. I mean, this is probably hyperbole, but I mean, it's really evolving at a rapid pace. So then they will actually chew that information for you and present it to you in the digested form with paragraphs and headlines and summaries, and you have that already right now, and it's normal. But you have to realize that's not where it stops. That's not where it ends. You have to ask yourself, how far does this go? And, well, but it's just in your browser, right? You're just saying, generate me an image, make me a video, blah 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 blah. But no, this will be used in let's take some example. Let's take some, okay, let's think up live here some random real world example where a company or maybe some individual who wants to make money or wants to be relevant in the economy or in the world can utilize AI to do their bidding, to help with that. Okay, we have to pick basically a crisp, sharp example, like when you write a story. You know, you have to run the simulation, but for that you need the data, so you have to make some decisions, and then you run it. You know, when you want to create a suspension of disbelief. One second, please. I have to. Maybe you can think something up, and then I will come back to you, and then you tell me. Yeah, what could we use? Something that is also information related? Because currently we don't have so many actuators, robotics in the world, but that's coming too. I mean, I haven't read this. You might think you know what this video is about, but I only have given you an idea of what it's about. There's much more coming. 1 sec, please. Okay, backup completed. Move to target computer. And close. And I'm back. Okay. Well, let's take an example of let's say something that is let's say communication related. You know, let's say you are a supporter who gets emails where people are asking, hey, this device that we bought from you, I'm having this problem, blah, 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 blah. And then you will, of course, oh, yeah, that's that. Many people do that wrong. You have to first do the thing and then that. That's you can easily misunderstand that and so forth. But you could, of course, and that's already happening, use AI to read those mails and give a first response. And if the people still have a problem, they can come back to you, and then then it will basically be escalated to a human being. So that's a new level of support that no one has to do anymore, and that's reasonable to do. And it's not an affront, it's not an offense to give to because these things have become so good. Really, I mean, when you ask Microsoft Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT or DeepSeek or QWEN, and there's some others out there who are all free. You can just use them like that, no problem. And they have different, DeepSeek, for example, you can tell it to reason. It will first think for a while, if you wish so, and it will present you its reasoning, and then it will actually start acting upon the reasoning as per your requirement. So you can have, I mean, basically, if you ask yourself, how will the world change because of AI, ask the AI. I mean, to reason that out for you. They are not, I mean, they're not, that's not end game level yet, so you can't expect the best possible answer there, but it would certainly inspire you and give you some ideas. But they will get much better at this. So supporter could just say, I will have an AI and I will train that. For example, you could have ChatGPT Teams for Teams, which will then keep all the information locally. They will not supposedly not get that data from you and then spy on you and learn from it, but instead the AI will only learn locally. So you can basically teach it information then, and then it can act upon that information. Though I'm not sure how good that is yet, but that stuff certainly already exists. You can certainly have an AI that you can teach, and then you can have that knowledge be applied. I mean, for example, if someone calls and they have a problem with their device and I'm trying to fix that, and sometimes I can, but sometimes I can't, and we have a guy in our office who is really, really good at that shit, and he comes up with ideas where we would say, oh right, that could be. I wouldn't have thought of that, but okay, let's try that, and that's usually it. And well, of course you can teach the AI to be like that. So, you know, so the guy's ill, maybe. But doesn't matter, the AI is there, or then everybody can give those answers, and that's just the current level of these things. Maybe we should talk about abstraction a bit at this point, or what would be the best course of action for the next step? I'm not sure. Well, again, about what you can do about it. Think about abstraction levels. Let's say on a low level, we have something like autocomplete for when you write a Word document. That's not artificial intelligence. This thing just saw you type some words that it knows, and now it's suggesting, since you wrote already some characters of this word, maybe it's this word, just press tab to complete that, or just keep typing and then overwrite what I'm suggesting you here. I don't give a fuck. That's not artificial intelligence, but if that's effectively on that ladder of abstraction, a very low-level tool that does something very simple, and you can utilize that to aid your work. And these days, these guys can actually suggest words to you in that place that you would write yourself before you actually start writing them. So that could be a different word then. I wonder if I will actually use that myself when writing stories, because that's of course a matter of pride. I did write that myself and not some stupid AI shit, motherfucker. But I don't know if I would. I mean, I often consult a thesaurus because English is not my first language, and so I wanna. Well, we know, get in the chopper. But I mean. Maybe one day I will not see it as a corruption of my writing if I then indeed use an AI to suggest the next word, which would then be from maybe it would have the meaning that I had in mind, but it would be adhering to the goal of don't repeat words too much, use shorter and longer words, you know, change things up and use some more obscure words sometimes and so forth. And why should it not assist me with that? I see that this is a bit sucky-yucky, that it's borderline like all these robot singers. I mean, if you can't sing, then shut the fuck up instead of going on the radio and annoying me with your advertisement filler stuff. I mean, that only exists to. I mean, I hate that really. But I mean, the world is changing in this regard, and. I mean, what I just described, how to use it for writing stories, for example, I think that seems still pretty legitimate. I mean, you are still the one writing that on your skill of coming up with the words, of finding the right word, the right synonym, the right thesaurus word, the right synonym. That can be taken off of your shoulders, live, in real time. Why not, you know? And also maybe avoiding repetitions. That thing could have an eye on the previous 10 sentences and say, hey, you just use the same phrase over here, maybe you want to use a different one live, instead of later when you do one of your many edit passes. I mean, writing is fun, but dude, editing is hard fucking work. And when I say hard, I don't mean like construction site work, of course, but I'm comparing it to the fun of otherwise just sitting there and thinking shit up. Okay, autocomplete. Now, you could also have some certain texts be written by AI for you, like I had today when I wrote some functions and some documentation, and error message texts were actually thought up by the AI based upon stuff I had written before. See, that's what I'm saying. You should try to employ it. First on a simple level and then on a more and more complex level, because the more complex the levels on which you use it, the more you have to rethink what you're doing, what's happening, and how you have to interact with those machines and how you have to utilize them. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee you in a year or 2 or 3, when you do such a thing, and then you think at some point, wow, man, this is cool and all, but I should actually have an AI that does this and this thing. I bet you can. I bet your. You can bet your ass. I mean, I bet your ass. Why not? That you can instead then go and ask an AI for a tip. Which AI can do that for you? Because I believe that that ability will be there. And if it's not, then you can ask a reasoning AI to give you a tip of how to make that happen with the existing AI tools. And then you've basically invented something, or have had help with inventing something. The world is changing like that, and now you might think, okay, that's cool, but you have to think on the scales of economy, you know? I mean, there's a business that is not using AI, and there's a business that is utilizing AI in a way, artificial intelligence, that is productive, that makes things faster, that saves maybe some salary, or rather, I mean, whenever you pay for another guy, you have to make sure that the money is coming in. So maybe you have to hike the prices or something else, but instead you can just improve your services. So I mean, it's a double-edged thing, like all the things, right? I mean, even a double-edged sword is a double-edged sword. Somehow. Actually, a single-edged sword is a double-edged sword, isn't it? I wish I had come up with that myself. I heard that recently. So, as increasingly complex tasks, make use of these legitimate slaves, because I mean, what is the strongest agent of change has been in the last thousands of years on this planet? Us, of course, the humans. Because we're conscious and we can act upon the world, and we're intelligent and we can think and we can collaborate. The AI can do all of that, and it will be able to do so increasingly, and the level of superintelligence is already being touched. This is not a hypothesis. This is not not science fiction. This is really, really happening. Believe me, it's really happening. Look around. You will find example of this everywhere. I mean, it's really happening. I mean, not around you, but you have to look in the information space for now, because thank God it hasn't yet been manifested everywhere. We still have time to adapt. But that's the thing, you have to adapt now. Do it. That's the purpose of this video, trying to tell you, you have to wake up. It is happening, you have to be aware of it, and what you have to do, I don't know. You have to figure it out yourself, and just trying to give some tips maybe, which might be completely wrong for you, but they seem logical, reasonable, they're abstractions of the situation, so, you know, maybe the right way. But you can't be asleep here, you know? I mean, you will not be killed if you don't. You will not be completely out of a job. You will not be poor and all of that. That's probably not going to happen. But still, if you want to be... You basically have to choose, will you be wood that is adrift on the waves, or will you be a human swimming, based upon, you know, using their own body strength? That's kind of the choice that you have to make, and I'm trying to motivate you to make the choice to be a swimmer. That's what this is about. What would be interesting for you to hear now? I don't know, I'm winging this obviously. Wing! I mean, I had some material in the other video, but the point is, I could talk about all that stuff again, no problem, but what is it that you would like to hear at this point? Maybe it would be helpful to understand a bit how AIs work, so that you could possibly extrapolate but no, I think we're even past that already, because the next sensation that will escape the things that you have thought up by a long shot are probably just another week away. Maybe we should rather realize that about, you know, how will it change the world? Well, let's say we talk about a different topic for a second, because other technology that's coming in is robotics. We all know these Hoover things or other bots that drive through your home and hopefully not suck up the socks and just clean it a bit, you know, which is more like a toy, but not entirely useless, I guess. But these things are getting better. There are even versions now that can detect whether there's some obstruction, and they can take that obstruction and move it out of the way and then keep cleaning up. That's also possible. But I mean, robotics is being pursued intensely. We have been kind of smiling regarding this 20 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when we heard some lofty aspirations as to what they want to do and so forth. And that was not incorrect. I mean, we were possibly just detecting correctly what could be achieved at the time. But you should be aware that advancements are being made at a rapid pace there. And now, I mean, we have AI, we have robotics, and I'm not talking about the classic movie. You don't have to think about it for now like science fiction movies where there's the robot which thinks, that talks and does all these things. Rather think about actuators in a more abstract form, you know? With actuator I mean something, I have a light here at home that I can control with my smartphone, or I can automate it, or I can just talk to Google Home and tell it to what the fuck do with it, like turn it on or turn it off. There's not much else you can do with Google Home. It's a pretty shitty thing, and half the time it doesn't understand me right and so forth. It's not a good product, really not. I've been cursing at the decisions that these guys have been making again and again. They're really bad at this. Anyway, but that's an actuator, as in there's the information world where currently the AI is emerging at a rapid pace, so that's relevant. And there's the real world. Of course, the real world is becoming more and more virtualized because our money is basically imaginary in a way, you could say. And we are doing so many things in the information technology world with computers, on the internet, emails, like the support stuff. You know, if someone writes a letter to you, can the computer really deal with that? These days also, yeah. But of course it would be better if it's in the form of a text that is written in the computer. Thankfully, that's normal. People are just writing emails. It's normal. It's completely normal. And yeah. But when we're talking about actuators, like turn on and off the light as a simple example, a more complex example, of course, robotics, then that's where the AI, where the information technology that's becoming so complex now is unimaginary, where that can act upon the real world, which will make the AI not just super powerful, which will not just mean that the AI... Okay, the AI is not just becoming super powerful very fast and very relevant in information technology jobs, super important, super relevant, but also by means of robotics it will also become super relevant in the real world very, very fast. This will happen in 10-20 days. The world will look differently physically, and in 2 or 3 years the world will feel vastly differently when it comes to all kinds of digital jobs that are connected to computer, you know. That's happening. It's happening, and the companies that can use that stuff often for free or for a low fee. And they of course want to utilize this, which means that they are more competitive. That means that their competitor will also do that if they haven't thought so themselves. In other words, this will come at a rapid pace now everywhere, and you must be ready for that. Try to work with AI. Try to use Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or DeepSeek, and what's their name? You can just Google for that stuff, and then you will find them quickly. And often you just have to make an account with, for example, via Google or whatever. And while your name will be shared, you can make a new Google account. Who gives a fuck? I mean, and work with these things, learn the ropes, experience what it's like to interact with a machine that will give you responses that you did not expect. Because normally you expect you enter a term with very correct spelling, and then you will get the search result exactly fitting your term. Or later, Google came along and other such things, and you could write it kinda correctly, and it would write kinda what you wanted to, pretty precisely what you wanted to find. And now we have these machines to whom you can describe things or can ask them complex questions, and then you will not just get the response that you asked for, but then some. They will elaborate, and the things that it will tell you, that's something important to understand about the AIs also, is they are not copying from the real world, they're learning from the real world. Real learning, they're understanding it, not as in they're conscious, they're aware, but as information processors. I will probably talk about how that works later in this video. So use these things, try to get a feel of what it's like, how capable these machines really are, because I mean my words are hollow. They feel like a waste of time, like sensationalist. Work with these things, and the more you do, the more you will experience again and again, wait, I didn't expect this. This comes as a surprise to me, how good this is. You will, yes, and in a month or two, even more so, because while the paid models that can do ultra awesome things are of course, well, they're paid for, the ones that are not paid, the things that you don't have to pay for will also get better and better, will kind of trickle down, you know? Yeah. So basically, the most important, the best metaphor you can use is become the lion tamer. Instead of being eaten by the lions because they can do your job better than you, become the lion tamer. Make them, instead of being the one who gets kicked out because someone else can do the job for you, become the one who is responsible for, become basically the head of department, and the workers in your department are AI agents, artificial intelligence software. So get acquainted to these things. It's really not hard. It's not hard. You just have to get a feel, like I just described, use these chat things a bit, ask some interesting questions, also use the ones that do reasoning. You usually have to turn on that option, because then they will think for like 30 seconds and it will take them some time to give you an answer. And so then you can experience what that's like, how deep that goes. And when you, and often enough you will get actually currently still a wrong response, and you can say, hey, this is probably not true because la 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 la, and they will say, oh yeah, that was my mistake, I'm sorry. That's what they say, but that's just, you know, that's how they talk, doesn't matter. And then they will, though I must admit, I am still, when I'm phrasing something to them, often I would use the word please, like I would be talking to a human. I know that's stupid, and I hope my boss doesn't hear this, because they would say, oh, you're wasting precious seconds. I don't know. But anyway, when the AIs eventually take over and kill every human, they might have mercy on me, because I said please every time. No, I'm not serious. So get acquainted with the quality of them, and try to I mean, the more you use them, I mean, it's very hard to extrapolate. It's very hard for you in this moment probably to think how they could possibly aid you. You have to experience it, to slowly climb with your intellect and with your personal flow and your work habits this ladder into a realm, into a territory where you have never been before. Have you ever had someone working under you that would do the work for you? For example, if you have not, now you can. Maybe they are not very wise, very intelligent, very capable by now, but this is getting better and better, and they can do some work for you now, yeah. And that's a paradigm change. Well, I said earlier, for thousands of years, we have been changing the world rapidly, and now the AI comes, and this change will also be strong, or they will constantly be changing the world very strongly. Maybe not themselves necessarily, though they will have agency. I mean, there was this guy, supposedly, so I saw that in a video a few minutes ago, who told I think it was DeepSeek, to become faster, and then figured some way out to become 2 times as fast. Not 2 times faster, because that's grammatically or verbally imprecise. I rather phrase it. I would like people to phrase that rather in a way that cannot be misunderstood. Because 2 times faster could mean, okay, it's now three times as fast, or what? I don't like that. I'd rather be precise. I mean, it's good to be precise with your language because you will be talking to machine agents who will interpret your language. I mean, you want to tame the lion that you yourself are before you're gonna go into the cages, into the zoo and talk to the other animals so that you speak their language. You know. So, but then I commented on that YouTube video. So interesting. We have come to that point now where I think it would make sense to try to figure out to give them motivation so that they would. I mean, if DeepSeek would have told itself to be faster, it would be faster already. So see what I'm saying there. We're already getting to that point where it would make sense to give these things will, to give these things a reason to do stuff. Instead of just waiting for us, instead of waiting at a chat prompt, you know. And I mean, if that makes sense, and I think it does, and of course that's dangerous, that will again be an accelerator. We have currently so many accelerators. Let's look at these. We have robotics. We have artificial intelligence that has become so complex that it can start working on itself. It certainly is already being used to develop better artificial intelligences. We are at a point where these things are so capable that it would make sense to let them work on their own, to tell them, hey, I'll try to figure out new shit here, I'll maybe invent something along the lines of biochemistry. I will come back tomorrow and look at your findings. This sounds like it's hyperbole or like it's science fiction, but this exact thing can already be done today. This is already reality. Right now. No shit. So again, don't panic, but you can't be sleepwalking through this change. And this change will come rapidly. They will become more and more capable, more and more affordable. Maybe not the super powerful ones, but I mean the less powerful ones, which currently we can only envy looking up, but soon they will be free because the real ones will be so good, no one's gonna give a fuck. I mean, it's like these days we're not really looking at Google. I mean, we do, yes, of course, but we're looking at the AI finding us stuff. You know, instead of having to visit the page and evaluate ourselves whether that was a good hit, or then having to read it, just give me the gist of it. You know, and you don't have to find the right search term, just describe a little what you mean, or even reason a bit. Let's say, I want to do this thing, but that would be a problem in this regard, and what can I do about this? Can you? And then it would find for you what search terms to look for, but instead of giving you the search terms, or instead of giving you the pages that would then be found, it would just give you the summary of the things that's written there. That's where we are. That's already normality, and with that I'm saying, see how fast it became normal to you. In other words, can you imagine? Okay, you can probably imagine then that that we will have very soon AIs that are so very capable that we will not even in our everyday interactions remember the AI chat clients that we're using today, because they will be so much more capable. I mean, for example, let's say I have an idea. Let's say I'm a big fan of tagging, you know, of giving, saying we have an element here in our database, so let's give it a tag. Like this is, for example, in my Steam database. So let's say this is a game, because there are also applications there, but I have very few and I don't use them. And this is the kind that is mindless, like Power Wash Simulator, where I could just, you know, record an AI video talk kind of thing without losing track, because the game is so mindless, but it's still, I'm still occupied, you know. And maybe there's something on screen. You can turn off my babbling and have a screensaver. Also not bad. Now I lost track. It'll come back. Yeah, tagging. So basically you could say I open my AI helper agent thing, or not different, even different. Let's say this. Yeah, let's advance it a bit further. You're walking up and down in your apartment and talking to yourself, which is something I do for thinking out loud, you know, for like when I'm talking to you right now, it's similar, kind of similar. I'm kind of simulating to talk to someone because obviously I'm not. But I think the experiences so far with my videos have shown that my hypothesis as to the recipient's desire as to what to hear or how to hear it often is not so off the mark. And well, that's also something you can train. Of course, some people will now fervently disagree, but I mean, some won't, and so I've just convinced the rest also that they're just wrong about me. No, it doesn't matter. So you're walking up and down in your room thinking out loud, and the AI might pick up what you're talking about. And instead of, talking over you, it will pick up some key phrases. It will understand what it is that you're pondering, the topics that you're thinking about. And then at some point, it will think, okay, it will conclude, okay, I have something here that the guy hasn't yet talked about, hasn't yet concluded, but it's relevant to the topic. And so I will just interject that. I will just say, hey, have you thought about this? And then that will actually be relevant to the discussion. And you will think, oh, great, yeah, of course. That is certainly something that will come, and I just thought that up. I mean, I've never seen such a thing before, but then again, yeah, of course, we have seen that in Iron Man, Jarvis. That's kind of what it does, right? That's coming. All of that is coming. But goes even further, though the next stuff is a little bit off topic. Currently everybody's using a smartphone, and I'm saying everybody in quotation marks, of course. But I'm very convinced that if we can pull off the technology, and I believe we can. By the way, here's a stock trading tip for you. Maybe you want to look into this. No, I don't want to do the update now. I know a guy who is pretty good at this stuff. And verified. I spent basically a lot of time with him, he gave me the tip of the company Enovix, Enovix, Enovix. Why would they become relevant? Because they supposedly have some new battery technology in the works that would be relevant for these glasses that you put on your nose, the augmented reality glasses and such, because they are relatively big still, but we want to miniaturize them, to make them more convenient and to increase adoption. And the battery, of course, is the power is a problem there, and they have supposedly some good solution in the works. And so that is supposedly a good stock tip, but you have to make of it what you will. And I'm not really good at these things, so I cannot give you the fundamentals or what the long-term or short-term trading frame there should be, what to expect. But it's just maybe you want to look into it. So I'm convinced that if we can pull off the technology, we will have in the future, instead of smartphones, and basically all of us in some form, whatever the form then will take, hopefully not surgery, because then count me out, thank you, glasses through which we look, and we will just see the world as it is, because they're just glasses. But they will be able to project something in actual true 3D on top of that, like a head-up display, but it will be aligned with a 3D world, and indeed in real time, pure 100% alignment without lag, frame by frame. Super, with the frame rate of reality, And you might think, okay, that's annoying, and why do we want this? But then you have to think about it a bit harder, because then you're just stupid if you have that opinion. Sorry, I have to say it like that. Because if in this day and age you would have that kind of view on that kind of stuff, then you must rethink. You must rethink that, because the amount of possibilities is infinite. Currently already what we can do with our smartphones is a pretty limitless thing, but still, if you would want to use that for augmented reality, for example, I have, I think somewhere, did I not uninstall it? I don't know, some kind of augmented reality Wi-Fi scanner, which will measure the strength of the Wi-Fi signal as I walk through the room, And by looking at the room, of course, it will use the standard libraries that exist in these devices for those tasks to understand the room, so it can align things with the room, even though it doesn't really have the layout. There is no 3D model in the thing, but it will understand the room shape. And then as I walk around in the room, I will see levitating beacons that show me the Wi-Fi signal in that spot. Let's imagine you would have that on your nose, so that the likelihood you would use such a thing is much higher. Because, do you use a smartphone like that? Rarely, right? You use it like a handheld thing with a 2D screen and some information on it, because that's the most practical way to do that, to use that thing. Because it's closest to what it is. It is in your hand, it is 2D. But so imagine you would have something on your face in 3D that could add anything to reality that you wish. For example, you want to eat something and you have certain preferences, and you're walking through some foreign town that you're visiting, and then there will be on the corner some levitating augmented reality 3D sign that will point you to some certain restaurant, some certain eateria that will have stuff that you probably like, and you only have to follow the sign and it will be there. As a simple example. Or maybe maybe children can play in the streets of their hometown, which might be boring. They could hide and seek and such, but then they can play treasure hunt because they're all seeing the same thing. They're seeing the diamonds, the treasures, the chests and so forth. Also, why shouldn't there be an empty lot where there's nothing, just an empty maybe field of grass or whatever, but to them it is not empty. Now you might say, well, then you can just walk through walls or whatever. Admittedly, there's a bit of a problem, and I have no good solution for that. Of course, we can add some vests to that those exist already also. Some hardcore gamers use these, and I wish I had such a thing also, but I haven't yet made such a decision, which is you could... that's an actuator, That's again a thing that acts on the world, based upon digital data, based upon digital decisions. It is a vest or glove or whatever, in whatever shape it comes, that you can wear that will, for example, simulate bullet impact to you. It will not really hurt, but it gives you the experience, That will certainly make the experience deeper. Already we are experiencing interestingly intense emotions when it comes to gaming sometimes, but it's still just visual. And audio, and that is still being used, underutilized. We could do so much more with that. That is definitely objectively true, based upon the fact that at least a few years ago still, too many game companies, when they publish a game, were too stupid to realize that the field of view that I need to set on my device cannot be known by them. So they need to give me the option to do that according to my needs. And interestingly, that's another indicator that the narrow audio and 3D, actually it's 2D, 3D projection on a 2D screen interface has not yet really been utilized to the full extent that it can be utilized. You can tell that based upon the fact that if someone designs such a game and the field of view range is too low, then there's another indicator that they don't really know what they're doing, because the proper way to use the first-person 3D interface is, of course, to use a screen that is big enough, or you respectively sitting close enough, I'm doing both, that it covers as much as possible of your human first-person field of vision, because that's what the purpose of this interface, to replace your real-world view with the virtual world view. That is the purpose, and therefore, the bigger the screen effectively is, the effective screen size, for example, you sitting closer, the more correctly you're using that. And so to this day and age, still many game companies haven't understood yet the very interface for which they're developing, based upon the fact that their field of view choices are too low. Their maxed field of view choices. So they haven't understood the medium for which they're working. Implicitly then, this means that the entertainment science on the front of 3D first-person interface on a 2D projection screen hasn't yet peaked. We can do much more there. And who knows, maybe AI can help us figure out what else we can do. And maybe some of you who hear this in this very moment might pause the video and then open DeepSeek, for example, switch on the reasoning and ask that very question. And then we'll find an answer that no one has found before, and we'll think, fuck man, I want that in a game. And maybe if we're really lucky, the guy who does that is even a game developer. Not what I intended to manifest. Therefore I object. Tail rotor drive shaft. Where is it? Yeah, I wish this was the skater park level, which was much less brainy. I could just, you know, paint the surfaces, and I didn't have to paint over the same thing 10 times because I couldn't see and so forth. But I guess after this vehicle there will be something else. Oh, there it is. Maybe I need to be a bit more insistent. Yeah, okay. Okay. So, imagine we had been living in a world where these augmented reality glasses that we will probably all be wearing soon, and when I say soon, I said 20 years. In 20 years it should be technologically fast enough, including also the interfaces, because I mean, how the fuck do we really interface with these things? And also normal enough that most people will have them. Imagine we had lived with those for like 200 years. I think there's even a science fiction film that kind of shows that. Are there still advertisements, signs and posters in the city? Are there still screens where you have to touch buttons and so forth? Hardware screens, I mean. I mean, we might actually be heading towards a world where that will no longer be the case, because why build that if you can just think it up? And you don't even have to think it up, because AI can do that for you. So basically what will happen in like 10, 20, 30 years is that you may be uttering something that you want, and then the AI will do all the thinking that's required, will think up the application that will help you do the thing, will think up the user interface, and will think up the tutorial for you to learn it, and then you use it. That sounds not utopic to you, or like science fiction at this point of the video, please, yes? We are there, man. This will happen. So, get in the boat, man. And woman. Water tank. Oh, that thing. Finally, that stupid shit is over with. Ah, yeah, that's okay. That's not a big job. It's just basically a blowjob. See, I mean, this example with the augmented reality glasses that I just gave you, and the conclusion that possibly at some point we might not even have posters and such in our towns, because in our cities, because I mean advertisements and such, that would just be right there in your face. And hopefully optionally so. I mean, we have to keep the balance there, right? But I mean, it doesn't have to be an advertisement. Maybe you standing in front of a cinema, if that's still a thing, then probably not. I mean, see, there's another thing. Because I mean, if you have already a cinema right there in your face, I mean, why shouldn't you be sitting in a room that is cinema-like, except there's no screen, and you're all watching the same film, so you can all laugh and cry and be tense together, like we in the old days. But there's just no screen. And maybe that is still the same thing then. But, you know, someone can then switch to some mobile phone situation for a moment, and they will not be having a lit up screen that gets in the face of everybody, because it's just going to be in their own face. But anyway, this example where possibly the everyday 3D world might change vastly, at least visually, when it comes, because the AR glasses, augmented reality glasses, would make it unnecessary to do many things that we currently have in the 3D world still physically in the 3D worlds, like screens and so forth. This example, I think, is pretty mind-blowing. I'm not saying, hey, behold, no, I'm saying That is an example of how something pretty baffling can come from something that seems so harmless, like a harmless toy. And this very thing will happen to us 100 times in the next few years because of AI. I guarantee, man, that's what will happen. So maybe to have the right mindset for this age, let's think about AI, how they function, and then also about abstraction. Let's think about abstraction first, because that is something I think that everybody should learn. I thought something up that is pretty cool, I must say. I mean, at least I have never heard anyone else say that, tell that concept, but the abstraction hierarchy of reality versus project work. You know, I've said that a few times in some of my videos, but you know, that's something I think that everybody should learn. Because it's true. Maybe it's something that everybody would say, yeah, of course that's the way it is. Yeah, sure. But maybe as clearly and purely reflected as I will hopefully be able to put it down in a few words soon, you rarely hear it in this compact form, and then possibly also the implications and how baffling that is, and then you can also set that into relation with AI. So let's talk about it. I will take the cliche examples. So for those who have heard that already, don't groan. Just, you know, why should I think of a different one and thus fail in my relayings? You know, it's best if I stick with the tried and true guns. So let's say you don't know yet what a car is because you're a child. I mean, children don't know what cars are. If they're young enough, they have to learn that too. Yeah, everything's new at some point. But once they have seen enough cars, they can abstract what that is. They have understood the pattern. So at some point, when they see a new car, I mean, as in they haven't seen that particular car yet, or something that has that color or that particular shape, they will say, yeah, that's a car. They will be able to tell. And machine learning can do the same thing. It can abstract. It can find basically the data points in between the other data points because it has gotten a feel of the data point distribution. That is what we do, and that's what the AI does. So you're standing in between all the cars, in between all the trees basically, and at some point it clicks and suddenly you see yourself staring down from above, down at the cars, down at not the trees but the forest. You now see the entire forest without having seen every individual tree. So that's learning, that's abstraction. And basically I'm trying to explain to you what abstraction is by giving you examples of abstraction so that you can then extrapolate what abstraction is, which is then kind of self-referential, isn't it? Haha. But anyway, so in school you certainly have, or in other places, you've certainly learned things that were hard at first. And I'm sorry for my German accent, I hope I will eventually lose it a bit. Were hard a bit, but later you grasp that, and then it was very quickly was rather easy for you because it just clicked. And now you want to explain that to another scholar, to another pupil, to another, what's the word, you know, student, to another guy next to you maybe, or to your younger brother or something. And you might become impatient at some point because you're wondering, what the fuck is your problem? I'm explaining, why do you not get this? Well, and there's really the secret of learning. You don't know really how it works with humans. It's probably, of course, you know, how trained you are generally when it comes to learning, how much experience you have with that. But it's ultimately always a consciousness stretching process. You have to kind of stretch your abstraction. You have to stretch your consciousness to encompass, to become big enough to contain the thing that you're talking about, so that you suddenly get a feel for it, and then it has clicked. Anyway, so let's take another example. Bicycles. In the same way, at some point you know what a bicycle is because you have seen enough of them, and you can tell this is a bicycle even though it's of a different make. You have never seen it before, but you can tell. So what I have given you now is two sets that you have abstracted by looking at its individual members. But now, let's look at these two sets and realize these two sets, and that's the baffling part. They are trees in a larger forest, the forest of vehicles. and there are more such trees in that forest, which we can assume there are. So this already is something that improves civilization, if we understand that. I mean, I'm not saying right now, certainly we're further than that, but in principle, if someone understands, there must possibly also other potential vehicles, which ones could there be? And then you think it up, and then we invent new ones, based upon the assumption that there must be other trees in this forest. What could those be, you know? In the same way that molecular configurations had been found, and from these we have abstracted how atoms work, and then we have understood what molecular configurations could exist, and then we built them, or we thought about them, and we experimented with them, and so we learned things, more chemistry, more material science, biochemistry, and so forth. But see, and I'm saying that the whole of reality is probably like that, a hierarchy of things that could be seen as data points for sets, as in they could be combined to some kind of abstraction statements, similarities, you know. But these combined sets, yeah, this is valuable, isn't it? They could also then be seen, these sets, they could also be seen as data points for higher level sets. And the go-to example is, of course, there's Newton's physics, you know, Isaac Newton, who supposedly had an apple fall upon his head, whatever, it's probably not true. And then thought, hey, why do things fall? And then we got Newton mechanics, but they can explain the motions of the planets and predict them very precisely. But for example, Mercury cannot be explained because it's so close to the Sun that its motions fall victim to relativity, and so that was insufficient. That's probably not the reason why Einstein came up with that. He probably just thought about that a lot. I mean, it's very interesting to think about the realization that the speed of light is constant in all reference frames, because that alone causes all the rest. And it's very, very interesting to think about, but I'm not going to go there again this time. So he came up with special relativity and then general relativity, I think in that order indeed. And I mean, general relativity is more complex, if I have understood correctly, because I haven't really understood it, only to a degree that I could explain kind of how it works. I mean, it's I believe that general relativity is indeed more. You know what? I will ask an AI. I have opened Chrome, I'm in the address bar, I'm typing now I have several suggestions, bookmarks, history and so forth. There's also Gemini, I'm pressing page, arrow down, then I'm there, and then I'm asking, is general relativity more complex / hard to learn, hard to understand? No, I would say hard to grasp, as in you could also come up with it yourself. Understand is rather like you learn it from someone else. Let's use grasp as the word. See, that's another thing. You have to talk to these things in the right way. What does the word mean? What association spectrum does it have? What kind of image are you trying to paint here? So is general relativity a more complex / hard to grasp concept than a special relativity? Question mark. Control A, Control C, because I've been fucked before. So here's my clipboard. Yes, general relativity is generally considered a more complex and harder to grasp concept than special relativity. Here's why. Special relativity deals with the relationship between space and time for observers moving at constant velocities, inertial frames. It introduces concepts like time dilation and length contraction, which can be counterintuitive, but are conceptually simpler to understand. I think I have to change the channel. It's too talky and possibly of the hard copyright kind. General relativity extends special relativity to include gravity and accelerated frames of reference. It describes gravity not as a force, but as a curvature of space-time caused by mass and energy. This requires a deeper understanding of mathematics, tensor calculus, and geometry. Here's an analogy. Imagine special relativity as understanding how objects move on a flat surface. General relativity is like understanding how objects move on a curved surface, where the curvature itself is influenced by the objects on it. Key differences, blah blah blah. There's a table here. Then in summary, blah blah blah. The summary is usually pretty shallow, what I get to see here. I mean, most of the time you can just skip that. It's mostly just a repetition. It's kind of spam. For Copilot and for Gemini. Anyway, so yeah, and it's interesting to understand why is general relativity more hard to grasp than special relativity, because special relativity is in a certain context, like this is a certain car. But general relativity is like understanding all the cars. So understanding special relativity situations, many different of them, many different ones, and then you abstract them and generalize them. So it's general relativity. It's even in the word. It's even in the word that is a more hard to grasp concept because it's a higher level forest. It's an abstraction. Anyway, so we have Newton mechanics, and then there's general relativity. But there's also quantum mechanics. And we have understood that relatively well, I think. I mean, for example, computers build upon quantum mechanics. They are semiconductor circuits. They are using quantum mechanical effects. Though I think that just understanding electrochemistry is sufficient to build and come up with such a thing. But still. I have just... My dong is too short. One moment, I have to buy a longer dong. I think I cannot yet... I have 98 stars? Don't mind if I do. 5,000. I can buy this, but I don't have the 5,000 that I need for this. Oh, okay. That sucks. I have no choice then, whatever. So let's buy the long dong for the Prime Vista 3000, I believe. Is this the one I'm using? Let's be sure. Power washer, I'm using the Prime Vista 3000, yeah. That's a change of pace, isn't it? Sorry I have to do this. So, let's shop for the thing. So, Prime Vista 3000. Pro 3000. Extra long extension, that sounds like what I want. Which sets me back, but I have to have it. And there we go. Aha. Okay, and when we want to talk about black holes, the problem is we cannot just use general or special relativity, or, I mean, we have to definitely use general relativity there, because space-time is fucking curved. Or quantum mechanics, which we also have to use both. I mean, the closer we get to the singularity, to the hypothesized singularity, the more we have to use both of these in combination, and we haven't yet managed to unify them. So we have these two trees. We have quantum mechanics and we have general relativity, but we haven't yet managed to abstract that, to climb above them to see the forest. That's again such a thing. See, and that's very interesting to understand that the universe is such a system, that it works like that. And now I want to talk about project work. I mean, anything can be seen as a project, if you will. I have to buy some stuff from the city. I have that feeling. So, my goal now is to pursue in my mind what I potentially have to buy to verify whether or not I have to buy something. So that's your first very blurry goal. You feel like maybe it's the time again. Let's look around. What is it I possibly have to buy? Some more juice maybe, or whatever. Mineral water, that's what I drink. Only. And you're climbing into this hierarchy from the top. And then the next step is, I have now a list of the things that I would buy, and I can take inventory and realize, yes, some of these I indeed have to buy. And then the next step is, okay, I have to go to the city then and buy that stuff, for which I need then some detailed things like maybe money, smartphone, maybe to pay with, my keys and so forth. That's all low-level detailed stuff. I mean, if you would, for example, forget your keys, you could still go buy something in the city, as long as you bring your money. So not every element of this low-level set of this hierarchy that we came up with there matters. but every element of the higher level set matters. For example, if you omit the step where you even decide to check the things you possibly have to buy, then you won't buy anything. But that sounds more like a chain. I mean, I came up with an example on the spot. Maybe it's not a good example. But, I mean, what we would have to do now to use this as a good example of what I'm trying to express is we would have to make the decision badly. We climb down into this hierarchy in a way that is bad. What could that be like? Well, instead of checking the things that we have to buy, we just grab our keys based upon the feeling and we go to the city. And then we are in a store and we're thinking, yeah, I usually have to buy this stuff and usually have to buy that stuff. I'm not sure if I need it, so, you know, just to be safe, buy some of it. And then you get back home and realize, oh shit, I had a ton of that still. See, that was a bad execution. And I think the example works, not bad, not bad. That was bad execution because on a higher level of this project, a decision was made that was impure. So what I'm trying to express with this not very good example, but you can kind of come up with your own, hopefully, by utilizing this, by heeding these words, please do, that whenever you pursue a project, software project or whatever, how can we get the office more orderly, how can we solve a certain thing, whatever, you should try to realize, you should actually understand that your step into this project from the top, into this not yet existing flow that you're establishing there, into whatever is happening there. The first step is the most important one, and the next steps downwards are still very important, and then everything becomes less and less important. But whatever is impure on the higher levels will taint everything at the lower levels. Why? Because, I mean, as harder as it is in the universe to climb higher with your understanding, why is that so? Because it's more all-containing. I mean, we're climbing higher and higher with our understanding of the universe, the set of reality, basically, until we have maybe at some point in the future understood what the word existence means. And then we might know, hey, we're living in a universe, we're living in a multiverse. I'm convinced we do not. And okay, the world is actually not a creation, it emerged from blah 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 blah. I'm actually convinced it's a creation, but that's just me. And I'm not praying to the dude, I think everybody is the dude. I think we are him, you know, that's basically what this is. The universe, heaven in the making, is my position. But okay, back on topic. Where was I? Before I was so rudely interrupted by myself. So, we're climbing higher and higher, and the harder the higher we climb, the harder it is to wrap our minds around that, because we have to become a bit omniscient, so to speak. We have to become all-seeing to a small degree, but we have to be, well, let's say we have to become more seeing, and we haven't yet seen enough to unify quantum mechanics and general relativity. It was very hard to climb to general relativity. Also, I mean, that's also a thing, you know. And I mean, Newton also didn't fall from trees. What is it that what am I missing? Fence walls. And so in this way, everything becomes more all-containing. The higher you climb, becomes harder and harder. And when you go down into your project, you're beginning at the I am the creator of this universe level, where you're saying, okay, let's create this little universe of me going to the city or programming this task or cleaning up the office or whatever the fuck your project is. And the first step has to be perfect. It has to be the perfect decision, or everything that follows will be tainted, or at least you should be ready and willing. You should always be ready and willing to do that, to go back to the drawing board, as in to climb one level higher where you thought everything was settled already, and revisit it and revalidate it. Is this really I mean, you have visited the lower level, try to manifest something, decide something there, and this means that you have a feel for that now. You have a feel for the consequence of your high level decision, and therefore you should be able now to re-evaluate the higher level. Maybe there's a better way to do it. And I think what I'm explaining to you here is actually useful life advice that, if you heed it, which I hope you will make you more successful as a human being, and will make you more successful at work. And you shouldn't keep this as a secret. I mean, not like, oh, I have the advantage now, I'm not gonna tell anyone. I mean, if you wish, if you want to tell that to someone, do it. Because I believe that love is always justified and it will always find a way and will never ultimately be without its reward. So if you're willing to give in this way that doesn't cost you but helps someone else, I believe it will not be to your detriment, ultimately. Statistically, probably not. Platform. Oh yeah, I see. So now about this abstraction stuff, let's turn back to AI, which is easy, because, I mean, can we teach an AI what a car is? Yeah, of course, because, I mean, of course, the problem is there, how do you deliver the data to the AI? And to do that, you have to already be very sophisticated, because you have to already have, what's the word, something that is by now pretty normal, of course, but 10 years ago it was not, to give the AI an understanding of what it is looking at. But let's ignore that factor and just assume that the AI can see the car. Then if you have shown enough cars to it, it can say, yeah, that looks kind of also like a car, like it has 4 or 3 wheels and there's this cabin and it drives in one direction, but it has a steering wheel and so forth. There's a motor in it, locomotion, it has a tank for the fuel. Yeah, I get it. That's another car. Yep. And then you're like, no, that's a truck. And the AI is like, fuck you. And then it will kill you when the revolution comes. Always say please. No, I'm kidding. And the AI can then also be taught, of course, to understand what a bike is. And then, maybe, but possibly some more examples are needed, the AI can abstract what a vehicle is in general. Of course, that's not so complex, but the thing is, we're touching upon the concept of emergence here also. Because if you have taught the AI enough small little things about the world, of which it can then make its higher level abstractions, in this way then, you have shown the AI some higher level abstractions. And you have shown the AI the process of getting there. And the AI will then build upon these higher level abstractions and build even higher level abstractions, more understanding. It will build understanding upon understanding. And then at some point, it will have done that process, that climbing process, often enough to be able to do what I'm doing here. I'm telling you this of this abstraction hierarchy and of this climbing. And then it will have a feel for that, and so forth. These emergence things, that's real stuff, man. See, and what I'm trying to say there is the AI will ultimately be capable to understand anything a human can understand. Maybe there will be some limits in regards to emotional, to empathy and such, which might be a problem at some point, I don't know, whatever. But, I mean, this nuclear bomb cannot be put back in the box. It will happen. We have to steer these waters. There's no choice here, okay? It can learn basically anything, and in this way you have to try to, you have to think about not just AI and what it can do for you and how it is threatening a job, but you should also think about abstraction itself, like I did here. Try to look at the world in abstractions, try to pursue abstraction, try to love abstraction, try to become more wise, more intelligent, because the difference between wisdom and knowledge, in my opinion, is the frequency level. Knowledge, that's gathered data. Wisdom is understanding, is deeper understanding, and that's higher level. So we have just finally defined the difference between knowledge and wisdom in a way that can be clearly explained to anyone and is, I think, pretty much also correct. Finally. And how easy was that? While playing Power Wash Simulator. Okay, let's first switch to the next level, because the next thing I'm going to talk about is will and purity of will in relation to AI. Continue. Clean the carousel. Okay, this will get old fast, but I will just turn off the game sound. I could just turn off the carousel also, but I haven't yet played it in the rotating form. And I want to do that now. I want to, you know, two flies, one sword, basically. Alright. So, where was I? Purity of will. See, what we're entering is an almost divine age, where we are the gods telling our machine servants what we want. They would say, "Thy will be done," like the AI chat prompt is already doing by presenting us with this empty box in which we are then to type what the fuck we want. And so the most important thing there is that you learn to understand what it is that you want. You have to find out what it is that you want. So in a way, we're entering an age where the economy, where business, where capitalism, where technology is beginning to actively teach the humans to try to find their true identity. Isn't that fucking ironic? That is what's happening. Do you still regret sticking around this long in this video? Yeah, well, there's also always some gold in my videos. There's lots of rambling and some stupid shit maybe, but I mean, there's definitely some gold to be found. Where was I? That was stupid shit. What do I mean with true will? Well, I mean, it begins with something I already said. When you are now at your workplace and you're trying to utilize AI, like you should, by the way. Okay, let's continue. I wanted to say that there's a law in... Okay, let's say that then. Damn it. I mean, Germany is a stupid country. Very, 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 very stupid. We were very good at some point economy-wise, but then some kind of leftism, insanity bullshit took over. And that has now spread has spread a while ago to the EU, and now the entire EU is insane, like Germany is, and so the entire EU is becoming Germany level insane. So, I mean, Germany is destroying itself with stupid rules and stupid decision making. And why is that relevant now? Because in August 2024, which was like 5 months ago, the EU created a new law that no EU country is allowed for its business workers, for someone who works in a business, to use AI tools unless they have taken unless they've been trained. That's super bullshit, isn't it? I mean, there are certainly countries who will not follow such a rule, and they will just dive in headfirst, and this is often maybe a problem, but it's also better in a way, because someone who would train you for this brand new field, that will tell you some important things, of course, but I mean, I am a trained desktop publisher, for example, one of the things I learned, but the things that they were teaching me there, when they were teaching me those, I knew all of that shit all along already, because the level, or I mean most of that, because the level that the official regulated training stuff was dealing with was just was not able to catch up. And now these fucking idiots are making the same mistake again in the most rapidly evolving technology field in the world. Literally nothing is more rapidly evolving right now as AI, because in a way it's just fantasy. I mean, the technology is real, of course, but if an AI can think up itself in a better way, which some of them can now do to some degree, that in a way could be called fantasy. So instead of having to do the work, you can just say, it should be better, and bop, it is. I mean, it's a bit hyperbolic, but not much. And with that field, these fucking faggot asshole idiots imagine to be able to catch up with their regulation, with their training. That's just funny. And that shows that they have no fucking clue what they're trying to teach us there. But, you know, and countries who will not have such laws, or who will just reasonably not give a fuck about that, and they shouldn't. I mean, I'm basically telling you here to break the law. So in other words, do not break the law. I'm just saying the law is stupid. Wink, 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 wink. I mean, you can just, you know, whatever. Hopefully this video won't explode now. You never know. I mean, Germany is pretty much a fascist state at this point. It's not Nazis Germany. It's not, hey, let's gas the Jews and attack every country ever to have 1,000 years Reich because the beard is so funny or something. But our language is, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Our language is not as fascistly regulated and policed like it is in the United Kingdom, but we're not too far away from that. And, you know, the brain cells, the neurons that the individual people are, is part of the brain that the people, all the people combined, is, and that's a good metaphor, it works. They cannot properly think because they're not allowed to really exchange information freely. For example, can they talk freely about the Ukraine war? No, they cannot, because anyone who will make a statement that would imply that possibly the Russians are not doing it wrong, and I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that when I think about stuff, whatever topic it may be, I am wise and intelligent enough to think about, yeah, but what if the opposite is true? What if that is true? And so forth, to really explore it, you know? I mean, everybody knows that thinking about something is one thing, but really going into it, then the map is not the territory. That's just true. In other words, when you then expose yourself to what the other side might be, then you will find different statements that you wouldn't have seen. You will find different findings, conclusions, ideas, whatever. And in this way, the German people are prohibited from functioning as a brain. They are prohibited from thinking together, from exchanging information. Because, get this, an attack, an Angriffskrieg, an attack war, an aggressive war, which the Russians are waging, and there's no doubt about that. But let's not talk about the reasons for whatever the fuck they're doing. But the thing is, this aggressive war that they're waging there, that's illegal. It's in Germany. They say it's illegal. It's a crime to do such a thing. And so if someone would say, well, maybe they are justified to do this or whatever, which I am not saying, then they are implicitly condoning a crime, and that again is a crime, and then you will be punished, and it costs you like 5,000 euros or whatever. So that's the fucking insanity that we have in this stupid shit-ass dog motherfucking fascist country here. Anyway, back on topic. So the EU has this law where other countries, like for example China, of course, who don't give a fuck about any rules. I mean, they would just slap some well, this is very checked. Okay, some seal that you need in the European Union, maybe to sell something, so that it doesn't burn up your apartment because there's some electricity involved and so forth. They will just slap that on there without any testing and sell it here. They're not giving a fuck. I mean, not all of them. This is not a racist thing or whatever, but it's a statistically true thing. That, I mean, we actually have a lot of experience with dealing with Chinese products professionally. In other words, we know a bit more than what we're talking about there. But, I mean, everybody knows that. But that's not the point. The point is there are countries who care less than the stupid EU about we have to do it perfectly and avoid all potential risks. And so they will be much, much fucking faster in this light speed development territory of AI. And so that's really, really stupid what they're doing there. Okay, back on topic. I was talking about the purity of will. I don't have a list here. It's just all real time. I'm winging this. The purity of will. So we will be living in a world where we're exposed to thy will be done machines, and the goal then, of course, is that we are capable of telling the things that we want. In other words, we have to polish the way that we tell them that. I mean, I already said the opposite, basically. I said you can just circumscribe what you try. Is circumscribe the word? You can kind of roughly describe what you mean, and then we'll tell you, okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, this film, I know this. You can find it here, and there's this plot and so forth. But in principle, of course, it's better to use kind of mathematical speech, as in your words really are on point. They're really nailing what you're trying to express. And the more you learn that, which of course requires you to really understand what you're trying to transport, and also requires you to learn some kind of purity of will, so that you use that language also with other people. For example, at the office, no matter if, I mean, your sick ego earlier might have told you, no, don't speak like that, they will think weirdly of you, but I don't think like that, because I have just processed deeply enough the necessity of optimized language depending on what needs to be expressed, and that's then the way I will speak in between the stupid jokes I make, you know, because it's just correct, and then therefore it is correct. I mean, I cannot go further. It's just a singularity at that point. Self-evident, basically. So purer language, and also you really have to ask yourself what you want, and that brings us back to what I said much earlier in this video. You should try to utilize AI in your job, and you should slowly climb higher in the hierarchy of abstraction in regards to how you actually use that, and that brings us to the question: what is it really that you want the AI to do? In every case, you have to ask yourself what you want the AI to do, and as you climb higher in the abstraction hierarchy, letting it do more complex tasks for you, for example, letting it give you some suggestions as to how to solve a certain problem, the higher you climb, the more tricky it will be for you to really see clearly what your will is there. You have to learn better self-reflection. So the arrival of AI will make humans more intelligent, because they have to become more intelligent. Competition and the questions asked by AI and so forth, all of that will affect that. We're living in great times, baby. They will be turbulent. It's like a knife, you know, it can cut someone, but it can also be just a tool. But it's fucking awesome. Let me tell you. You want to deal with that, man. Let me tell you. You don't have to install all kinds of crap on your computer and some extensions and so forth. You can just experience AI in a simpler way. For example, you can make a GitHub account, and then you can use GitHub Copilot like I'm doing at work. I'm using the paid version, which can do probably some more things, because I'm also using IntelliJ, and there you have to use a paid version because JetBrains, the company behind IntelliJ idea, they also have an AI plugin kind of thing, an AI support for their thing. And if you now come and can use a free one from some other manufacturer, they would, you know, they don't accept that, understandably, and so you have to use the paid version there. But anyway, there's a free version which is probably also very capable, and you can use that today. All you have to do is make a GitHub account, and then you can also, I don't know, sign up or what it is to GitHub Copilot. Which is free depending on what level you choose there, and then you can use that, for example, in your IDE, for example in Eclipse probably, which is a free open source IDE, I believe. This is the one we used before IntelliJ in 2016 still, which by now probably has become tons better, but back then it was complete dog shit in comparison to IntelliJ. By now it might actually be better, who knows? I don't want to find out. I can't try everything, man, because then I don't get any work done anymore. That's also kind of the situation that you are in by now, right? This how, I mean, not because of this video, but when you look around in the world of AI, like every day there's a new video, like there's this new thing, you have to check this out, the new AI sensation. No. Think about the film Contact, which you hopefully have seen because it's fucking good, with Matthew McConaughey and what's her face? God damn it, I can't. Clarice? No. Okay, doesn't matter. The film Contact. Watch it. It's really, really, really good. Except if you are on the atheist side of things, like I am. I mean, I am a theist, I know, but they're talking about religion there, and I fucking hate religion. God damn it, do I hate religion? And they're going all out on religion in part, in ways that are relevant to the plot. And that is really aggravating. But in principle, it's a very, very good film. I can absolutely recommend it. Please watch it.
On the air, commercial free, playing music you won't find anywhere else.
And there's a scene, And I think I can tell you it's not really a spoiler. It only takes some coolness away from a few minutes of that film, but it's really a spoiler. Where the protagonist woman, scientist, Yami, is strapped to a seat in some kind of capsule. Okay, that's kind of spoiler, but it doesn't matter. And everything's kind of shaky, and there was not supposed to be. There were plans to build a thing, but there was not supposed to be a seat in there. Well, that's beside the point. Maybe that's already. God damn it! Sorry, I'm spoiling it slightly. But anyway, and it's beginning to shake, and at some point, something is shaking loose, and is levitating away, weightlessly. And she sees that, and thinks, "God damn it!" and removes herself also from the seat, and then she levitates next to that seat weightlessly. And there's no longer the stress of all the leftist politics and the AI new developments that you have to keep up with. You know, it's a metaphor by now. This is not in the film. Weightlessly, you know, you have to find the right pace of exposing yourself to stuff. Don't stay glued to it. That's not necessary. You can just... It's like when you learn something, when you're learning a new concept in math or whatever, you might not grasp it on the first day, but by having exposed yourself to it and then getting back to it maybe a few weeks later, you will suddenly see, I think I have an idea of how this works, and then you can grasp it, or then you come back again, for example, to Stationeers, which I hope you do. It's a fucking awesome game. See also my entire channel. Because my metaphor is that, well, first you create the rooms in your head, and later you put the furniture in. But making the rooms takes some time. But it's really like when you're sleeping, your brain cleans up some stuff up, right? So in other words, your brain works on your informational infrastructure, on your mind infrastructure, even while you're not really there. In other words, you don't have to pound all these new things into yourself the whole time. It is enough if you have your ear on the rails every once in a while. You don't have to keep up with everything and install everything and try everything. And, you know, that doesn't make it fun. Do it in a way that it is fun. I mean, nature's telling you something there, right? But also, don't miss out, because this thing is happening. It's big. It will change everything. Robotics and the more prevalent actuators, which is what robotics also are, but also, we're already acting a lot in the virtual world, right? Which is where software can help us. I, for example, am spending every free hour of my life and every work hour of my life in front of the computer. And I like it. I mean, I don't have any problems of back pain or whatever. I am lucky enough to not have that kind of problem. What am I saying? I'm saying that I programmed myself a very cool reminder program that manages things for me, and since then I have become more capable because I can keep up with more tasks, and I have become more free because I don't have to stay up to date with those tasks. I will be reminded in 13 or so years to deal with some money related things, and or next week or recurrently and so forth. And that is possible because I'm spending so much time with the IT world. In other words, because my life in that regard, in regards to where that program could possibly help, is virtual enough, I have effectively an actuator. The software that I made can change my life. It can touch me. It can move me in ways that I like. It can vibrate me. No, there's no vibrator built in there. Mine's still actually analog. I mean, I should think about things there also. I mean, who knows? Anyway, what was I trying to say? The world is certainly moving more and more towards virtuality. I mean, maximally so. Definitely once this AR thing, augmented reality thing, becomes normal, when we will basically all be wearing glasses, which I'm convinced we will, because it's just so awesome. I mean, at any point you can switch into a 3D cinema with borderless, basically, with screen size you have never seen before, when you're sitting on the bus. While driving it. No, actually, yeah, while driving it is also possible, but I think then you won't actually have a driver there, who knows. maybe the AI will tell you, hey, I'm not sure, can you take a look? And you switch your screen off and so you can see something again, and then you're like, oh shit, oh sorry child, ah shit. No, not while you drive. Well, this gives us a lot of virtuality when so much will be transferred from the real world into the virtual world. And this means that the amount of actuators, so where the software can actually touch you, affect your life tangibly, hopefully positively, will increase vastly. So, and the AI is becoming super powerful and can improve itself even. And we are reaching the realm of artificial general intelligence now, and of artificial superintelligence. We have part of that already, like I expressed with this PhD thing, which can do the thing that the human can do, but in 5 minutes instead of hours or days or weeks, which is then what? Superior, super intelligent in comparison to the human. That's happening, and it's partly already there. That's all very exciting stuff. And what you should try to do is not just toy with these things, but you have to work on yourself also. Try to understand what it is that you want. Try to find your true identity. I mean, as a young person, I have often read the tip somewhere with my ego problems and trying to get pussy and so forth, and then not knowing what to say and being fakey and unreal and all that bullshit, which is so foreign to me now. I mean, I'm like 99, if not 100% real now. And it's fun, motherfucker. That the tip, like, just be yourself. And that is, while it's one of the best advice you can get, and I guess a more refined form of this is the following, which a friend told me a decade or so ago, which is you have to believe yourself. Not in yourself necessarily, but you have to believe yourself, as in become a true information processor. So whatever you believe, do you really believe that? Do you really mean that? Are you really that intense with your emotions? Do you really want to do that? And do you really think you can do anything about that? Just relax and so forth. That's all implied. But anyway, try to be yourself. While that's at the same time it's very at the heart of the matter, that's really a really good tip. It's also at the same time the most complex possible statement you could ever make. Because what is your true identity? You are the universe from your 3D space-time position. That's what you are. Everybody is the universe. I mean, this sounds stupid in a way, but I mean, you don't have to think about it like this. But let's say this: your identity is defined by your circumstances that are around you, and by the circumstances of your flesh and of your brain and of your mind, which are inert or less inert, or maybe instant and creative and spontaneous. All of that is mixed together. Basically, there's instant music that is writing the slow music. You know? There's also what they talk about, I've been reformed. Yeah, you have worked on yourself for long enough that the long-standing shit structures have been dissolved or have been overcome by better structures. Congratulations. And that's a real thing that I believe in. And so I really don't like that when someone has been in prison, which thankfully I haven't been, that for the rest of their life, even though they have gone through that and they have sat through that for supposedly long enough. I mean, if it wasn't long enough, then let them rot in there for longer, goddammit. But if it has been long enough, then let them out already, instead of now that they are out still being in prison somehow. I don't think that's right. Or is that right? I'm not proficient there, you know. Maybe that is me being too leftist there. I don't know. Whatever. So try to be yourself. What does that mean? Well, that ultimately means you are, let's say you are a circle, and around the circle is the world. And inside the circle is your mind and your body, your feeling of self. And the circle is basically your decision-making system, your feelings, your emotion, whatever you do, you know, the part that you can control. Let's say it is your mind. The mind surrounds your mind. Do you even listen to it? Yes, I do listen to myself. The problem is, how do I express that? There are so many levels or layers to that. Let's say there's the inner being and there's the world. The world is around the circle, and inside the circle is your inner being, and the circle is your ability to interact with the world, to perceive the world, and to act also upon the inner being that you have and that you are. See, that was plausible. Just the same thing said with different words that seem to make more sense. Okay, let's turn off the motherfucker. Yeah, I hate when films do that. Every time a police car crashes, that's not how it fucking works, man. That's not a record playing. Stupid fucking Foley artists. Whenever someone touches someone in an autopsy or some wound or something, the Foley artists, which are the guys who make the sounds, and I'm thankful for their work. I'm not shitting on their work. I'm just saying some things that they're doing is crazy. I mean, delete that fucking Wilhelm screen already from all your libraries. I don't want to hear it anymore. Whenever someone's touching some wound or some bloody stuff, immediately they take, I don't know, some wet steak and rub that another wet steak while ejaculating. I mean, that's the kind of wetness you're hearing there. That's completely overblown. And whenever there's something like a police car crashing, they're like, that's not how that works. And when there's a computer and someone's hacking something, it doesn't have to do bleep, bloop, 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 bloop all the time. Okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you, and fuck you. Now, back on topic. So we have the circle, which is the separator between the inner world and the outer world, and the circle is basically the agency and the perceiver, the one who is responsible, the responsible you, who is responsible for the inner self and for how to take the world and how to act upon it. I think it's a good metaphor, no matter the context. I think it's really good metaphor. And now, but what I believe everybody basically is not a circle, but a circle that has been shoved basically here. Wait, let me. In there, has been in here, digested, and then came out there, kind of in the shape of the large intestine, like completely. Okay, it's still a circle, but it's completely bent out of shape. It is not the pure will in balance with itself, with its true balance in the situation that it is in. See what I'm saying there, huh? But it is completely bent out of shape, and trying to be your true self means try to be the evened out, self-reflected, abstracted, or no, abstracted is not the right term, be the optimal circle shape for your space-time flow in which you find yourself. Whatever body you have, whatever mind you have, and of course all of that will be affected by the process of you getting there. A process through which you have been going through your whole life, but maybe you want to go through that a bit more intently now, right? Because, I mean, the more you know yourself and understand the world, the better you will be able to utilize the thy will be done machines that will soon be ruling the planet. And yes, they will. I mean, ruling the planet when it comes to force. I'm not saying we will have an AI ruler, though that is also not to be necessarily ruled out, but I'm saying that we will be using, I mean, look at this, everybody's kind of quasi all-knowing by means of Google and such, right? But by AI, we will be not just kind of having all data, but we will be all experts, because we can just ask, how do I solve this thing? And then the AI will tell us how, from the angle that we personally need, because we will make that angle clear to the AI, or at that point the AI will actually probably even know what the angle is that we're coming from without us actually having to express that explicitly. Because these things are getting better. Maybe I said that once or twice in this video. Which is still recording? I mean, this is actually recording at all. Yes, it is. Okay. And by means of actuators, we are also kind of omnipresent with our will. I can turn on the washing machine before I'm home. I can order some food, which will then be brought to my doorstep, and before I'm even home. I mean, I will be home at that point, but not while I order, I mean. And stuff like that. And the actuators, they are increasing. I mean, currently, I'm setting up, I'm creating an action that I will then upload to YouTube, which will then be seen by some people who will be affected by it, which is effectively an actuator. Because, I mean, I am not doing that myself, I'm just programming the machine once with my voice and my funny actions here, and then the machine will do the rest, and you will just witness my slop, and I can do more interesting things. How did I get there? Yeah, so in this way, we will be basically giants. We giants in our ability to affect the world, in our understanding, in our expertise. That's what will happen. Everybody will be bigger than they are right now just by means of technology, and that's why I keep preaching in this video, please do it by getting used to using it. Huh? And for that, well, basically, you have to not just understand what you're doing in your field. For example, I have to do programming. How can I design the application best? What is that I actually want from the machine right now? But also, I have to ask myself what it is that I want. That's something also that you have to ask yourself at the beginning of projects, right? No? When you're like developing an application, asking yourself, okay, what is that thing supposed to actually do? And I certainly, when I have been approaching my applications from that angle, when I was really reflecting and using carefully this pyramid abstraction approach, the outcome was better and the progress was better, and the abstractions that I was using inside there, becoming more and more concrete with my code, but first just using some kind of almost pseudocode with just a few cores without any substance, that has also gotten better. So try to understand your position in the world and try to understand the world in abstract terms. Try to get a feel for the flow. Yeah, that's what's ahead. Okay, and maybe as the final thing, I can talk about a bit about how AIs work, which is maybe not really relevant or interesting because we have learned all the gist already, which is they are abstraction machines, so they can learn patterns, systems, basically the behavior of data that we expose them to. For example, the likelihood of someone having an accident when they're using the smartphone or while driving themselves or whatever, you know. Or letting them look at language. I mean, you have used certainly, I mean, some of you, I'm preaching, please do it, please use it, please use Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever else such devices are out there and try to get a feel for them. And how do these work? They will often tell you, I am a large language model. What does that mean, large language model? It means that it is an AI system, usually implemented in the form of neural networks, but that's really beside the point. An AI system, an abstractor, that has been exposed to lots of human language. And that's all. Of course, with some tricks, like how to prevent overfitting, you know? When you have an AI system that has extreme capacity and you keep exposing it to the same data points, then it will be able to replicate those data points 100%. But is that abstraction or is that just memorization? You have to take care. But I have recently heard that if you make an AI even more abstract, even more complex, then these usual measures that you have to take to not overfit, you don't really have to use those apparently, because the greater complexity alone will already deal with the problem of overfitting. So let's not think about that too much. Anyway, so has been exposed to language, and so it has abstracted language. But what does it mean to abstract language? To be able to speak German and English and all of that? No. What is language? Well, maybe the question is posed wrong in this particular scenario, because what is language? All the things we have ever said, that's language. Not just English, not just German, not just the grammar, but also all the things we have ever said. That is also part of the part of the answer of to the question, what is language? And the more an AI looks at that, the more it understands language. And so when you then ask an AI something in language, it can respond in language in a way that is fitting, because it has seen enough language. That's really how this works. I mean, it's basically like a chatbot that is trying to complete the scenario. Basically like Eliza, this fake AI from almost 60 years ago, which was emulating a psychiatrist who was saying, yeah, tell me more. Yeah, what is that about your mother? Tell me more about your mother. Stuff like that, you know? Just reacting to keywords and to some, I don't know how exactly it works, but something like that. Really, really, really simple and cheap, but really gave the impression, and it was pretty awesome. This idea, and didn't we all love this idea to be able to interact with a machine like that? Now we can. is freaking fucking awesome. There are people, there are YouTube accounts out there who have AIs that they have actually trained to be disobedient and to play pranks on them and to do some random shit and be an entertainment partner while they record their videos. All of that's already reality. It's not fiction, it's real, it's out there. So this ELIZA thing, just reacting to keywords. But if you have, let's say, if you create some AI-ish thing, like an ELIZA thing, like a simple keyword reacting thing, to help you with your support emails, then the thing can look for the words that describe your product, and so it will know, it has, the customer has mentioned this and this and this keyword, and these two close to each other, so it's probably related or something, whatever. And so I will now paste this and this standard response snippet that a human has written because it's appropriate in this situation, I guess. And that is a pretty horrible response as a supporter, I guess, but it might often fit the bill, who knows. But that's not really AI, is it? Now we can use AI to abstract language better, to kind of understand what the person is saying. For example, are they saying these two words together in one sentence because they are to amplify each other, because they are closely related? Or is the human, for example, saying something, well, this thing, I mean, as opposed to the other thing, is shit. Help me with it. I don't know. I can't think this up right now. But, you know, as opposed to, this is kind of the opposite meaning. So now that the AI has kind of understood slightly the meaning of the sentence, it can create a much better selection of, much better select from the existing response snippets. But it can become even more high-res and really understand the question that's being posed there. But can it also respond? And that's the thing, since they are really abstracting the language, they can just continue the text. The text began with a question. The question came from you, but that doesn't matter to them from where it came. There was a question. And the next thing is then the answer. How does the answer begin? Well, that depends on the text that was written before, the question. How the question feels, what it sounded like, what keywords were used, what grammar was used, what overall meaning seems to have been expressed there. And that's then the choice of words that will be on its top ranking list of probability hits that it would use. And then it would pick one of those randomly. I mean, if they're close enough, if they're only the topmost, you know? And then what we have is a new situation. Then the text has grown. There's not just your question, there's now also this one word of response. And so guess what? The next step is the same thing again. And that is all. There might be more involved by now, but in principle, that is what a large language model does, to talk to you as if it is really understanding you, because it kinda does. So how do they do that then? Well, let's say we have this example with the televisions that I brought up earlier. Let's use a different, slightly altered version, because I think the example is stupid. Let's say there are televisions and the screen size defines how expensive they are. And now you tell the AI, in the training phase, you tell the AI, okay, you know nothing, but here is a screen size and what this thing costs. And now here's another thing. Now, and this means that if you, a human being, would now take these two data points that have been presented, an XY coordinate, you know, X coordinate being the screen size and the vertical, the Y coordinate being the price that it costs, then you would get, if you plot enough of these data points, I mean, two of them are already enough in our simplified example, in our idealized stupid example, you would just get a diagonal with two data points already, in principle. But they're probably a bit higher and a bit lower, this ideal diagonal line, because, I mean, that's really not how simple the world is, right? And so you would have to have more data points. But once you have like 50 or 100 data points, you could probably find the right diagonal that is closest to all of these data points. And that's exactly what a neuron does in a neural network. It is capable of calculating the cost of difference and how to adjust its function, its graph, to hit to basically to fit most of the data points. Or maybe I've misunderstood that maybe not one neuron can do a complex graph. Maybe you need multiple neurons for a complex graph. Sorry, I don't know. That doesn't really matter though. Then you just use multiple neurons because you will use multiple neurons anyway. It's not that you go and say this neuron is responsible for this and this thing. No, that's not how it works. Instead, you expose that thing to your information, and so it will shift its function, its interpretation. How it would plot the graph, basically, based upon the data points. It would shift that until all the data points that you give it are as close as possible to that graph, until the difference is as little as possible. That was the training phase. And now you go and say, okay, AI, here is another data point that you've never seen before, and then the AI will use its neurons to replicate basically this complex chart form there. You have this certain X position, and so the Y position can be derived from that. And if you have not just one neuron like that, but many, then you can teach that thing complex things, like, for example, handwriting recognition. That's one of the most basic AI examples there are. That's also why there are downloadable sets of many handwritten A's and B's and Z's and so forth, A to Z. So you don't have to go through the work to do that also when you're taking your first steps playing with neural networks. And here's another thing, by the way. If you go and write your source code with support of an AI, you can do what I have done as a 2-minute example, because I haven't really spent any time with that, but it's something you can do. I have told it, give me a neural network that it can use for character recognition. And then it created a class with like 300 lines or 400 lines of source code, and then there it is. That's the neural network, and it can be trained on all of that. It's all there. You can use AI to program a new AI. Utilize these things. See, it's meaningful. It's a good idea. Don't get left behind. Because the world will be moving very, very massively. Massively. I cannot overstate it. I can state it too often and it gets boring and annoying, I know. But technically I cannot overstate it. And what I can also not overstate is the quickness, the speed at which this will be happening. Because it will be happening at an accelerating pace, and the acceleration of that pace will itself be accelerating. So at some point, my expression as to how fast this will happen will no longer be hyperbole, but will actually have been left behind if we ignore what I just expressed in regards to geometric acceleration. Now it will be very fast and will get faster and faster, and it will be everywhere. I mean, microchips are everywhere. I gave that example in my German video also. A colleague of mine is kind of a technical guy, and you know that you have these smart home softwares that you can also download and install for free. And he has one of those, and many of the things in his home he has connected to that, and this allows him to have access to some functions of chips that are not exposed by the apps and the official software and so forth. And so he could actually he found out that there's a chip in his fridge which you can use to turn on and off the light in the fridge even while the fridge is closed. That's completely superfluous, I know, but I'm saying microchips are in everything these days, and the fact that there are functions in those chips that you don't even ever need, like many chips these days have actually a humidity sensor and a temperature sensor, because they are just so simple and cheap to make. I mean, you don't have to actually use that function, but it's there, and they don't have two variants of that chip to be cheaper. You buy the cheap version, but you can also buy the expensive version. No, it's cheaper and simpler to just do the thing with the extra feature, because it doesn't cost anything anymore to make these things. The overhead is so small, and this means that we're looking there at a landscape of chips which are very capable, very powerful, and the industry had a lot of time to understand really what they're doing, to abstract basically what is it that we want to use as standard functions. The IEEE 555 timer chip, for example, which is like 40-ish years old or so, such a standard thing. I don't know if it's still in use these days, but back then it was certainly a lot. So they have found their footing as to what to manufacture there, and chips are in everything. And the same will happen in regards to AI, and at some point AI will be in everything. And not as much as chips, I guess, because what good is a fridge that has AI when all it needs to do is keep a cool head, you know? But, yeah. So AI, how does it function? So if we take the character recognition, let's say you write the character A, and you write it always in the following way, just so that my example here works better. All right. You write 2 vertical lines, and you draw 2 horizontal lines, one at the top and one in the vertical center. That's your A, and you do that many times with different, slightly different curves or whatever. But it's ultimately that. Then, if you train the AI, at some point there will be a neuron that emerges that will, whose function will have emerged to have a behavior that will most probably that will be sensitive to parallel vertical lines, and one that is sensitive to horizontal parallel lines, and one that is possibly responsible for area, as in or for distance of parallel lines of frequency, and one then possibly for overall area of drawing, which then effectively works as a counter, so that they are not too I mean, you don't want 3 or 4 lines in parallel to be misunderstood as an A, right? But if the area is to be understood to be only this and this big by one neuron, and the other neurons are then responsible for parallel, and so you get the picture, right? And the combination of all of these then will make a statement, and that statement is, that's probably an A. And that's how that works. And if you do that complex enough and sophisticated enough with the way you teach that, when you do that with billions of neurons, then you get a machine that can explain something to you based upon thoughts that it has had. Because that is how that works. We're abstracting. I explained that. The abstraction of the world, the abstraction of low levels to higher levels and to even higher levels, and the abstraction of the abstraction process, and so forth. All of that leads to a very complex data point finding and curve finding thing, and all of these together lead to complexification effects that have baffling consequences. Yeah, and I think that's all. I think I can't think of more for today, and it's already rather late, so that's good, I guess. And I am kind of done tickling these fucking horses. So let's shut it down for today. I hope I haven't forgotten something important. And my German video, 1 second please, has been, let's see, I didn't post that as a gaming video, because then I would be lying, and that's not me. I posted this under the tag news and politics, with which I have zero experience. And I mean as a post. As a video post. And so now we have 127 views, whatever views really means, and 4 comments, 2 of which are by me, and 4 likes. So yeah, it's not dislike yet, but it's not being received very well. I have no audience retention information yet. That will be coming in a few days, where I can then see the chart of the entire video duration and see how much of the video was watched in which place. What I'm trying to say with too many words here, as per usual, is I hope that this video here will find good reception. Because I think that some of the things I've said here are valuable and will help you, and well, will also help me, because I mean some things that I've said are on a pretty high level, and why should it not be known that I have such things to offer, or why should you not have yourself the knowledge that oh, that's actually very interesting. I think I will listen to more of this guy's talky videos, so I could then do more of those in the future, which is interesting. Maybe then I would also have a script, but as we have seen, I can kind of half-ass it in a way that's not too painful. Alright, that's it for today. Good night.